Hello, my name is Opal Singleton, and this is the Protect and Prevent podcast. I'm the president and CEO of an organization called Million Kids, millionkids.org. We're an organization out of Southern California, but we work all across the United States and every now and then even overseas. And today I want to give you a test, a vocabulary test, and see how much you know about specific terms and their impact on kids online. The reason I'm doing this is not to insult you or to put you up against a wall if you don't know, but the reason I'm doing it is everything has changed, and it's changed in the last 24 to 36 months. And most people think they know this stuff, and then when you stop them and ask them what you think it really is, they're unable to actually verbalize it. So I want to fix that, and that's why we are here with you today. So I'm going to start off with the term financial sextortion. Now, if you've followed Million Kids, you know that this is the hot button of the year for this organization and many others across the U.S., and yet so few people really understand it. And I want you to be able to understand it so that you can use the term and you can share it with others, because I am convinced that no kid I ever met wants to be violated, but very few young people understand what financial sextortion is. Now, if I'm over at the club, the country club, having dinner with my friends and I mention it, they just assume that's a cryptocurrency scam where people invest and they get lost and like that. It can be, quite frankly, but that isn't the way that it's normally used. There are plenty of financial sextortions that take place with adults, but financial sextortion mainly is geared towards adolescents, teenagers. So this term happened because of the fact that it can, okay? All the elements fell in place to make this crime happen. We weren't having this crime 5 years ago. The reason this is so important to me to share it with you is that every time we come upon a victim of financial sextortion, first of all, it ends absolutely tragically. Almost all the cases we hear of, over 45 of them now, are young people, mostly males, about 98% males that are aged 13 to about 17. I've seen one that's about 21. But these young people get caught up in financial sextortion. And so, along with these terminologies, as I began to explain this crime to you, I also want you to think in terms, since it's a vocabulary test, the dangers of friend to friend, a friend of a friend. We all have a friend of a friend. I want you to meet my friend. They're the friend of a friend, okay? And so this is a real challenge in working online, because that's how we all work. If you think about what happens in online experience, you know, we all think we know somebody, but we don't really. And it's real easy to throw out that friend of a friend kind of thing. So I also want to talk about app transfers and app transfer strategies. And I also want to talk about scam farms and OpenAI. So we're going to cover all of this terminology together because there is some interactivity beyond all of that. So in this kind of thing, what happens is that financial sextortion has actually originated about 3 to 4 years ago. So many of you know that I've written this book, Digital Warfare, Our Kids on the Front Line. Now, that doesn't mean I'm against technology, okay? I don't believe that it is. But I do believe that our kids have entered a whole new era that most of us don't think about. And that is the era of global connection. You see, our kids go online and they think of social media as social using media, right? People they know. And let's face it, even back in the old days of Facebook, what did you do? Oh, I'm a friend of someone you know. And somebody wants to be your friend on Facebook, you look to see, do you have similar friends? And like that. Here's the problem with all of this. What happened is about 2 to 3 years ago, and this is exactly what the entire book is about, digital warfare, the entire world began to get connected by internet. So when your child's online in social media, they're connected to the kids in their clubs that they belong to at school, or maybe on their different sports teams, and they look and see each other. They text each other. You see kids standing side by side texting to each other. That's how it's done, or across a restaurant or whatever. And so they have their friends. But when the entire world connected by internet, suddenly you have your little pot of friends, but it isn't even 1/8,000th of everybody that's on there. Because right now on the internet, there's about 5.5 billion people. And many of them around the world use social media to make money. And if they can, they're going to make money off of you and your child. All of us now are on the front line of a digital warfare, and the way to connect is using your device, because there are many, many ways for them to connect with you. So the first thing that will normally happen in financial sextortion is they will approach young people at a kind of a difficult moment, or maybe it's a great moment. Maybe their team just won, and your son just scored the winning play on it. Or maybe, he's got a new girlfriend that he's kind of excited about meeting. Or maybe they broke up, or they're in a bad place, or is not doing good in school. They'll get you at a weak moment, and suddenly they come on and they seem like they know everything about you. Okay. And that all sounds good. They can even talk about the friend of a friend. Let me tell you about friend of a friend. Did you know, mom and dad, teacher, pastor, parent, anybody, did you know that they can go through your Instagram account and get all the names of the people that follow you or you follow? And did you know they can go through TikTok and look at all your friends? So they can immediately start to throw out some names of people you know. So that makes it look like a friend of a friend. On top of it, with artificial intelligence, they can build an entire profile of you. It's very easy to do. And this is the reason why in financial sextortion, you often see those kids that are true winners that are being targeted. In fact, the more successful you are, the more likely you could be a victim of this, because so much of that is online. They post when great things happen. They post when the games win. They post when somebody made the winning play out there. And all of that information can be gathered up. If your house has been on Zillow lately, they have pictures of the inside of your house. If your house is on Google Earth, they have pictures of the outside of your house. If your kid has just gotten a scholarship, that is in the news. If your kid is, the homecoming king, that is out there and in the news. So with artificial intelligence now, they can gather all that up. They can harvest that data, is the technical terms of that, and build a profile of your child. By the way, they can do the same thing for you and your grandpa and your grandma and anybody else that's on there. And all of a sudden you have somebody who's a widower or divorced, and suddenly their new love life comes to around and approaches them, and they already seem like somebody you already know. And it's very easy to trust them because you're using real life emotion. I often contend young people will use the same emotions and the same evaluations of talking to people online as if they're dating the kid down the street. But you really cannot do that online anymore because people from Nigeria and Ivory Coast and Pakistan and Bolivia and, Sao Paulo and Hong Kong, people all over the world can create a profile of you and your child. And you're already globally connected. So it's very easy for someone to come in and they go into your friends and they look like a friend of a friend. And on top of it, it looks like somebody that already knows you. And right now, we do not have the programs to teach kids how to evaluate that, how to determine if this is going to be a good online relationship or one that is going to expose you and extort you and take advantage of you and maybe even try to destroy you. You see, what has happened is third countries in developing countries like Nigeria and Ivory Coast and Myanmar, they're very poor, but they have the exact same technology that you and I have now, and they know how to use it. So what they do is they create scam farms. And this is why I want you to know all of this terminology so that you can share this with your kids, so that you can share this with your friends and everybody at school and at your church. Please do not forget your faith-based community. I think we need digital education classes within the faith-based community. What is digital morality? What you do online counts. It's not okay to look at pornography just because it is animated. It is not okay to send a nude just because you're online. Those are discussions that need to take place on what can happen. So what is happening in a scam farm is that third world countries, developing countries, literally imprison their poor people. And they will imprison people from other countries as well. They send them off on scam farms. I would highly recommend that you go on YouTube and just put in scam farms and read as many as you can, okay? And look at them so you can see. The people who are seducing your child is also a victim of trafficking. And that's kind of a difficult discussion to have. But people need to see it. These scam farms are brutal, okay? The people cannot get free. They don't want to scam you. They want to go on with their lives. But they have been imprisoned by cartels, by organized criminal groups that have learned that now they are connected to your child on the World Wide Web, that they can make literally millions off of U.S. kids. And by the way, U.S. seniors and anybody else they can seduce for what it's worth. And it isn't just U.S. kids. They're also targeting U.K. kids and also Australian kids. But as countries go, our country is one of the wealthiest in the world. And it did not take long for poor countries to learn that even the poorest teenager in America has more money than most people in Nigeria, and they want your child's money as well as yours. And they don't care whose life they take to get it for what it's worth. That is why it's called financial sextortion. Financial sextortion is different than, for instance, other types of sextortion. Usually in the past, somebody would ask for a nude because they wanted to be able to send them off to other pedophiles and be part of a big dark web pedophile community. But that is completely a different kind of crime than financial sextortion. Financial sextortion takes place because literally people in poor countries organize criminal groups, and your child is in no way ready to stand up to them, especially if they don't know about them. And neither are you, by the way. And this is the reason why I'm doing this podcast. I want the word financial sextortion to be the very top of every human being's mind in the world, but especially every parent, every teacher, every pastor, every grandparent, everybody they can to tell the story, so that when you hear the word financial sextortion, everything in your life changes immediately as you reach out to protect that child. Let's take Nigeria or Ivory Coast, or maybe Myanmar or Pakistan. These criminal groups in these countries are organized and they are brutal. They are ruthless in ways you can't even imagine. So they will use people in these scam farms to look like a hot 14-year-old girl to your young guy, or a hot 15, 16, 17-year-old guy to your young girl. But more of this is taking place by entrapping young boys. They will come on and they will look like someone you know. That is why understanding the terminology of a friend has changed. Because in the past, friend of a friend was a good thing. You know, when somebody asked me on Facebook, I want to have a friend, I look up and see who their other friends are. And if you recognize them, you friend them. But now friend of a friend is a trap. And watch out for that. We should teach every one of our children, if someone is coming on to you as a friend of a friend, simply hang up or get away from them and get a hold of your friend. Now, I'm recommending that if you're close friends, you get code words between you so you will know. But no one should ever accept a friend of a friend until you verify the first friend and knowing who they are and is this person someone you know. Because with all the information online now through artificial intelligence, then everybody looks like a friend of a friend. A friend of a friend at this point in time is a trap. It's a strategy to entrap your child. So pay attention to that, because that terminology is changing. Another thing that is changing is the willingness of people to jump between apps to apps. And that's very important to find out. One of the first things that they will do is they will come on and they will say, hey, let's talk offline in your dating site. If they want to talk offline, then run, baby, run. It's a trap. It's not something you want to do. That's one of the first things they'll do in a dating or hookup site. Hey, let's just talk privately. Or they'll transfer you to an app that has E2EE. That's another term that you should learn. E2EE, end-to-end encryption. So your new friend for your child is suddenly saying, hey, let's go over to Telegram. Well, Telegram is a very, very, very popular app. Most people won't think about it, but it is encrypted. And more of your apps are encrypted. The reason they're doing that is, first of all, to verify you're not a cop. And number two, so that nobody can build a case against them if they seduce and end up harming your child. So you need to understand these terminologies. The other thing that needs to be clarified is the dangers of nudes. 1 out of 6 boys and 1 out of 7 girls have sent a nude. In the past, the terminology of, hey, I'll show you mine if you show me yours, looked like an invitation. We need to educate our kids that someone who wants to send you images is a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a trap. Because once they send you images, even if you just barely send them something that isn't all that bad, they can now use artificial intelligence and make it terrible to blackmail your child. By the same token, once that nude is done, the way financial sextortion works is that the person on the front line in the scam farm gets a nude or partial nude, and it immediately goes to the cartels. And the minute that happens, the cartels are online with your child, and it is brutal. And this is why 45 young men, very promising young men who were, straight A students, who were Christians, who were star performers, have taken their own life. Your average young person cannot stand against them, especially if they don't understand what they're up against in the first place. Because these are literally cartels from Nigeria, from Ivory Coast. They have nothing to lose. One of these victims got 1,000 texts in a 24-hour period. One of them said, "You're nothing, you're nobody, you're ruined, you're damaged goods." That is one of the terminologies you need to understand right up front if you're going to put your child online. You need to tell your child, first of all, anybody who is a friend of a friend that starts doing anything risky or nude or anything like that, run, baby, run. Remember that term, run, baby, run. Get the hell out of there. Go now. Okay? Because you have never met them. You don't know if they are who they say they are, and you don't know what they're going to do with that stuff that they send to you. So these are terminologies you need to embed in your child's brain and let them know right off the bat that these are traps. So a friend of a friend can be a trap. App transfers are a trap. Okay. Nudes online or any risque stuff, that's a trap. You and your child sit down and go online and look at scam farms and NUDIFY sites and understand, first of all, NUDIFY sites are literally websites that are offshore that are used to put nudes on other people's pictures, okay? And the problem with that is, besides the fact that it's immoral, is it's illegal. And if your child does it, it's a crime, and they need to hear that. I don't care how young they are. First of all, you're hurting another person. Second of all, you're committing a crime. Third of all, you are doing business with cartels and overseas groups that will harm you. Now, this terminology is helpful, but not unless you know what to do with it. So I would encourage you to buy the book, Digital Warfare, Our Kids on the Front Line. I would encourage you to share it with your young person. It's in audio. Also, you can listen to it. If you go to millionkids.org, you can get the audio version, and you can also get the download online version. If you go to Amazon, you can get the Kindle version, and you can get the paperback version. And you can learn all kinds of things by following millionkids.org, millionkids.org. And I hope that you will learn this technology words and how it works, how it impacts you, enhance your vocabulary, but share it with your child, okay? And I'm asking you, mom and dad, educator, law enforcement, become an expert on financial sextortion. You can save a life. Almost every parent that has lost their child, they're in horrendous grief. And they will say, "I never heard the term, and I don't believe my son did either." We have to change that, and I need you to do it. So I'm glad that you listened. I'm glad you have learned. I hope that you will support our work financially at millionkids.org. And I hope that you will share this podcast with everyone you know. And let's learn together. Thank you for following us. You can reach me at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. You can also donate at millionkids.org. I'll see you on the next podcast.